Very good songs from Branty Amajidede. And his wafa is no longer Branty.
Oh, once an Branty, always an experience Branty.
That's a good song, yeah? Good song by all standards. And thank you very much indeed for staying with us on the Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. It's 36 minutes after 8. Let's get into the meat of the matter where the New Patriotic Party yesterday launched its manifesto for the 2024 elections. And I've been seeing some repetitions. Do you have the copy of the manifesto? I have
do indeed.
The 1996 version of the manifesto.
Sure.
That quote that was put out by Dr. Bawumia yesterday as the opening quote from JB Dankwa. Same thing here. 1996.
Property owning democracy in this land, with the right to life, freedom and justice as the principles to which the government and laws of the land should be dedicated in order specifically to enrich life, property and liberty of each and every citizen. Dr. J.B. Dankwa.
1961, and I'm quoting from a document dated the 20th of September 1996. Yours is dated when?
This is the document that, well, it's 2024, 18th
yeah.
August 2024.
Same quote, same person, opening the manifesto for 2024 and 1996. And if you go through the manifesto for 1996, you'll find that there are a lot of similarities. What were your takeaways? Fiscal discipline, right?
A lot of takeaways for me. I was quite interested in the connection between the flag bearer and the youth, what he was really going to say to the youth.
Said because their plug, the Gen Z plug.
I heard him say that, and I thought, wow, who's coaching Dr. Bawumia, giving him all the up-to-date lingo. I'm not sure that some of his counterparts even understood what he was saying there, but they were nodding and clapping. They thought, this one day the youth, no,
you won't clap. Won't you clap?
Oh, you have to clap.
Yeah.
He said, I'm your plug.
Clap for your hands.
He says, I'm the plug. He says, I know the keys. He says, I know what buttons to press to make sure that you reach your full potential, which for me has become something that troubles me greatly because we live in a digital world, digital economy. And now you only have to pick up your mobile device and you too can see how others in your age bracket are living. What are some of the goals they're able to achieve? And a lot of young people are disillusioned because they pick up their phones and their realities are so different to their counterparts in the same age bracket as they are. You think about the future and it doesn't feel so bright. So I was mainly keenly plugged into what Dr. Bawumia had to say about the youth. What sort of inspiring message would he have for them to really ginger them? I've got to be honest, it was a long day. Long affair. And in between these speeches, there's a lot of music and all of that. I wish sometimes the parties will have mercy upon. Let's truncate some of these proceedings so we can get the import of what is going on. At least Dr. Bawumia also admitted that we're not in normal times. We are in some severe times. That's why, again, as Johnny, you mentioned, when there's talk of providing this and freebies, it sends alarm bells ringing.
And you start asking yourself, okay, so where are we getting? For me, I'm concerned about where we get the money from. That's the main thing. Where do we get the money from to do all these things? And nobody's telling us. Now, let's listen to the government's pledge to, if they get power in 2025, to enhance fiscal discipline to reduce interest rates. Listen to the Vice President. Listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, We have experienced a major economic crisis, and with your support, weathered the storm. But we are not yet where we want to be. It is therefore very important to protect and expand our rebounding economy, to attain and sustain macroeconomic stability with low inflation, low interest rates, exchange rate stability, and low budget deficits. Fiscal discipline and private sector empowerment will be the key to realizing our commitment to job and wealth creation. To sustainably reduce the budget deficit and interest rates, my government, inshallah, will enhance fiscal discipline through an independent Fiscal Responsibility Council enshrined in the Fiscal Responsibility Act. The Fiscal Responsibility Act will also be amended to add a fiscal rule that requires that budgeted expenditure in any year does not exceed 105% of the previous year's tax revenue. This will prevent the experience of budgetary expenditures based on optimistic revenue forecasts which do not materialize. Ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, my government will reduce the fiscal burden on government by empowering the private sector to do more. Fundamental to building any modern, prosperous society is ensuring that access to education and health is available to all, and that there is a safety net for the most vulnerable. Under the two-term administration of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government, I can say without any fear of contradiction that no past leader has done more to uplift the poor and the vulnerable in society than my boss.
So no government has done anything to push up the poor, right? Than my boss. Now, if you listen to Nana Akufo-Addo, he says that, it is Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. In fact, the last time he slept, he was even trying to mention John Mahama and then.
That's right.
But have you noticed that Dr. Bawumia only says my boss? It's Akufo-Addo's government. He doesn't include himself as my boss.
He wants to create a clear distinction between himself.
I am not among.
And what is going on, which has been the stance of the strategy from the get-go.
I am not among. But why do you not want to be among when you're actually among the second in command of the whole architecture? Why don't you want to be among? Is it not strange?
It's strange because actually sometimes it depends on the context. Then it's like, okay, I have the power to do X, Y, Z. Let's get the nurses, nursing trainee allowances. Let's release it. Then that's somebody who's in charge. Other things that crop up, well, I'm not in charge. I'm a driver's mate. I have a back seat. I now want to bring my own vision to the fore.
Because before now, if you listen to any of the government communicators, they won't fail to say under the Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led government, under Nana Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia-led government. Now, Dr. Bawumia himself is trying to excuse his persona and his identity from all of what the government is doing. You ask yourself, what's happening?
It's a strategy.
No, but what strategy is that?
It's a strategy.
You're in power. You are in power. How do you want to detach and decouple your campaign and everything? Because you're campaigning on the legacies of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President Kufuor, right? Of the NPP tradition, at least in the Fourth Republic. That's what you're campaigning based upon. So how does the president come and address the people and say, under my government with Dr. Bawumia, with me, and then when Dr. Bawumia speaks, he says, oh, my boss, he doesn't include himself. Is it not strange?
It's to help with the optics, so that when you see Dr. Bawumia, you can picture it in your mind that as he says, he's his own person with his own vision. That's the optics that the vice president is going.
The elections is in December. You still have September, October, November, and even up until the people go into the voting screens or to go and vote, and already you want to detach yourself. Is that a vote of no confidence?
It's an admission that things are hard.
Well, but if things are hard, do you leave? Because the people voted for you, the vice presidential ticket, you're considered duly elected.
That's right.
Because with two people on the... For more to do more, had two people on the poster.
That's right.
Anyway, Professor Kobe Mensah is joining us on the phone line. He's with the University of Ghana Business School. He's a political marketing guru, and he does a lot of consultancy and deep thoughts and thought leadership out there on social media. Prof, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Kenny, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great.
How are you?
I'm greater than Accra, Prof. Now, we begin this way. Yesterday, we had a very long day. Did the NPP tick the boxes in terms of trying to whip the base to win over floating voters and also to reassure their own party members, their creme de la creme, that, okay, we are ready and this is what we are giving to the people and this is good enough? Did they tick that box?
Well, Johnny, thanks. I think that when there is a big event like this, a big platform, political platform like this, you want to gauge the mood of the base. Usually you picture a number of things. One of them is the applause. So in the delivery, the base should be giving some resounding applause to indicate their satisfaction to the speech. Now, I am sure that when you compare the applause to the previous, occasions, especially when they were in their peak, I'm sure you would agree with me that it was a little bit low in terms of the enthusiasm of the base. So in terms of exciting the base, I think that they were measured. They didn't actually get the usual applause that you would think that Bawumia actually would get. And that's the point for the base. Now, for the floating voters, I don't think that anyone would really think that they won them over. In fact, people rather had a lot of questions when you monitor social media. Not that people had actually put on comments, because most of the time Ghanaians actually shy away. But when you put a comment on there, when I put a comment on there, and you look at the number of reactions, not obviously from the activists of both sides, but from people that you and I know that are generally people who would not engage in partisan, but would make, very, objective comments. You could see that people were not happy. Why were they not happy? There were a lot of untruths in the messaging. I mean, for you to say that your boss had been the only one who has uplifted people from poverty in the face of national statistics that actually says that 1.9 million people are unemployed, in the face of national statistics that says that Kumasi or Ashanti region, Ashanti region itself has a multiple, poverty dimensions. I mean, in that phase, and then you actually make such a bold statement, I think that it would make people who are floating voters a lot more doubtful about, your messaging. And so, if you look at the two key people, their base, and then of course the floating voters, I don't think that they were happy. Now, if you look at, the messaging itself,
right?
I didn't actually realize any groundbreaking apart from the things that he's been saying all over.
Right.
The time. I mean, clearly rehashing quite a number of things, and then, of course, trying to sound, much more enthusiastic about his own government. But what was actually striking was the departure. Incumbency or incumbent administration always build on what they have done. And the last time an incumbent government, trying to sort of come back into power with another leader was, and then the leader departed from the existence, was Clinton and Al Gore. I'm not sure whether you remember that, but Clinton and Al Gore, because of Clinton's issues with Monica Lewinsky, Al Gore, although Clinton at the time was soaring, I mean the economy of U.S. America was soaring, the job numbers were very, very impressive, but because of value issues, Clinton had issues with Monica Lewinsky, and Al Gore didn't want his personal brand. Al Gore was known as a family man. And so that political, candidate brand was very important to him, and did not want that brand to be soiled by overly demonstrating a very loyal position to Clinton. And so he departed, all right? And when he departed from Clinton's brand, or from the Democratic brand, in terms of the way he carried himself and the way he went about his campaigning without any, linkage with Clinton, it cost him the presidency. Now, let alone a certain administration that hadn't performed, and then, demonstrating even a much more clearer departure from them. There was nothing that I could find with Bawumia's proposal that actually linked to the legacy of Nana Addo. It was always a departure. Look at one crucial policy, e-levy, all right? Very, very crucial policy that you went, the party had gone over the whole country, promised heaven and earth for Ghanaians, to the extent that people wanted to, demonstrate. And they sort of had a block and said, look, you cannot do this because we need crucially to have the e-levy. You spend so much money to get that. And what did Bawumia say? I will cancel it. I mean, we talk about judgment in leadership, all right? We talk about judgment and temperament. If you would cancel it, and you are that intelligent that you managed to convince your boss, which he said he did, in terms of oil for gold for oil or whatever that policy.
Gold for oil, that is it.
Yeah, gold. That it was so innovative, and you were able to convince your boss, and your boss allowed you to implement it, and in your own words, had become a very good policy to slow down inflation or whatever you call it, all right? How then couldn't you, on the same measure, convince your boss that e-levy is not a good idea? In fact, if you pass on the administration the baton to me, I would cancel it. And in that sense, I don't think it's a good policy to cancel it. How then you couldn't do that? I'm so surprised. You see? So there are a lot of contradictory positions in Bawumia's delivery that actually leads to NDC's calling him as that for people to believe it. Because the inconsistencies are so many, the untruths, the half-truths are so plenty that people cannot, resist the kind of name that your opposing party would give you. And they would actually believe that. All right. So for me, the departure almost says that Nana Addo didn't do nothing. Meanwhile, when he says we disagree, look at what the compromise said. Look at what the other speakers have actually said. Almost all of them, when you read it, and look at what Samira said. When you read it,
Prof, you'd have to reposition yourself because your line is cracking now.
I said that I will be in transit. So,
sorry.
Is it okay now?
It's better.
Okay. So when you read what Bawumia, Bawumia himself is saying, what Samira has said, what Aponkuma has said, almost every one of them is saying to us that we are in a very bad state. That's what they're saying.
Now, if we're indeed in a very bad state, could that be the reason? If you listen, and before you got on, the president and everybody else who spoke talk about the fact that it's a Bawumia Akufo-Addo led government. When Dr. Bawumia speaks, he says, "My boss." He doesn't include himself in the narrative. Does it come to you as a shock that he's trying to distance himself at this time from the Akufo-Addo administration, if you will?
I am not surprised because the reason I'm not surprised is that when you read my own thesis, right, I talk about coupling and political brand architecture. All right, there are times where, as part of strategy, although the three elements, the candidate, the policy, and the party, are of the same entity, all right, but you could decouple them. But you could decouple them from a very fundamental strategic position, not as what they're doing. And so I am not surprised that he's doing that because that's the only way he thinks he can actually win back power, all right? But it is so grave that people can't afford not to see it, all right? So the decision that they are attempting to do is not working because it's so grave in our memories and the kind of things that they've done and the kind of headline that he's headlining. I mean, I checked, when the policy came out, the manifesto came out, I checked with my tools and to look at the number of times Bawumia actually talked about the economy. You can imagine, a very scanty portion. In fact, things about inflation, exchange rate, look at the number of times Bawumia dedicated to speaking about these things, the fundamentals of the economy, all right, in 2016, or leading to 2016.
Right.
And go and check the current, speech that he had to look at the number of times he committed to that fundamental thing. Something that his wife said that he was a whisked. There's a master stroke of that, all right? Now he's departed. His most important and most prioritized area is jobs and what roads and what living what do you call I've forgotten the third one is he mentioned, all right? So you could see that he's actually departed completely from what we all said that he was a strong suit, the reason why he was brought into administration and his claim to fame, all right? He's departed it completely. So that tells us that he has no choice but to decouple. But then he cannot decouple appropriately because he was the center, the front, and the back of the whole thing, leading to 2016. I always say that the 2016 election was a Bawumia's win, okay? And so it makes it difficult for him to actually decouple.
Now,
Hello?
yes, Doc, does it also, the question about the numbers of ministers that Dr. Bawumia said is going to run the country, there's been a topical issue. He says he would run the country with not more than 50 ministers. Social media has been awash with commentary about the number of people in his campaign team, and somebody says Agrobe saw a free to wait. If the dance is going to be good, it starts right from the morning. Can he be trusted on that score?
You see, I can understand why people can't trust him. Your campaign team size actually tells you the number of people you metamorphose into administration. And this is common. You can ask the political scientists, you can ask the political marketers, you can ask those who do political communication. Every country and most democracies, the campaign team is the one that will metamorphose into administration. And so when you do not have a lean campaign team, yet promising a future lean government, it is very hard to believe. And that's why people are telling you that, yes, if you don't know, if you have no conception of death, then look at sleep, all right? Certainly, you cannot say you're going to run a lean government, especially when you're coming from a background where people don't trust you, all right? You have a very big campaign team, and you're saying you're going to run a lean government. People will doubt it. It's a very good proposal because everybody is saying cut down the numbers in government, which, you have said 50, Mahama has said 60. Each of them, of course, would want to see whether they would do it. But which one can you believe? Mahama's campaign team is very lean. Your campaign team is massive. So if we want to use it as a gauge, remember, you had already been promising and you have never delivered. So the track record for you is very low. Now, the only way we could actually come back to that trust score is to look at some of your behaviors and your attitudes currently, all right? Because you have given us a lot of things to doubt you. But look at your campaign team, massive. Yet you're saying you're promising 50. So if you put the two of them on the board, certainly these promises are in the future. But if you want to use any measure to look at whether you will be able to achieve it or not, Mahama will be trusted because he has a very lean campaign team. You have a very limited massive campaign team. What are you going to leave behind? What are you going to actually bring to government? It is very difficult to believe.
Now, you go back to the 1996 manifesto of the NPP, and you check out the opening quote. It has a J.B. Dankwa quote from 1961. And then the party abandoned that quote and some of the key things that we see in the 1996 manifesto. Fast forward to 2000 when President Kufuor won, to 2008, forward to 2016, 2020, you don't find all of those. And then in 2024, you find that quote coming back, positioned it the same way as it was in 1996. And then you find some key salient points in the 1996 manifesto, finding presence in, the Bawumia campaign, sometimes verbatim, sometimes, tweaked here and there. Does it come to you also as a surprise that you're bringing back stuff from 1996 into 2024? How many years apart?
No, it wasn't. You see, I noted in UPSA speech, and I don't know whether you remember that Bawumia had gone back to 4 years and had abandoned Nanado's tradition.
Okay.
All right. What he is trying to do is to tap into the endorsement of former President Kufuor. So you would see clearly that there's a certain, agenda. There is a certain effort to tie into Kufuor as opposed to tying into Nanado's tradition. And Kufuor's tradition is the one that you're referring to. In 96, it was Kufuor, and in 2000, he won. All right? And so there is a complete, and I can boldly say that because even if you listen to yesterday, there was references to the golden age of business, although coined it differently. He actually used the golden age of business in UPSA. And yesterday, he said it is my government is a business government.
Right.
The business of my government is business, all right? So he has, strategically tied into what was tradition, believing that the people might, transfer the goodwill that Kufuor enjoys in the eyes of Ghanaians onto him, all right? Because certainly the Nanado tradition is something that people do not want to hear. But you are fundamental, to Nanado's tradition. You are very, very at the center of it. So I don't think that strategy would work because it would not whitewash it. It can only, energize the base of the NPP. But if it is not actually going to sort of, ache that of the Nanado's base, then I'm surprised. Because, look, people would not take it kindly from the Nanado's side of things. All right? And I know, and I've heard, that in some quarters, they are not happy with the way that he's absolutely trying to disconnect or decouple from the Nanado's tradition onto the Kufuor's tradition. I know for a fact that some quarters are not happy. But of course, he would succeed maybe reinvigorating the tradition of the base of the NPP, especially those disgruntled ones. But I'm not sure that he will be successful in the eyes of the general public.
Prof, I thank you very much indeed for your time. Before you go, though, the conversation about handing over the country to a journalist and to an economist. Well, you are a trainer of journalists, and then you have also trained economists. So where do you stand?
I couldn't believe that he gave that shot to journalists. I mean, the economic messiah himself has departed from the economy. All right. So how would you actually say that? And in the sake of things, I mean, when you look at the trajectories, I had always said that leadership is not discipline oriented. All right. These are common universal language. Temperament is universal. Judgment is universal. Regardless of which discipline you can be in physics, you can be in communication. If you don't have the right temperament, if you don't have the right judgment, you do not make the right decision. It's common. It's very basic. So for somebody like Atacha, who I think people accord him some level of, what we call respect, to say that, I couldn't believe that he said it. And you see, when you hear some of these things, you would think that people would say, I misspoke. But he doesn't say that, and he's very strong about it. I'm so surprised and scandalized at the same time. You see? But let him carry his... The Janos will know what we are made up of, all right? And then let him carry his views, But certainly, leadership is leadership. A matter of discipline.
I thank you very much indeed for your time, Professor Kobe Mensah, Political Marketing and Communication Specialist, University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much indeed for your time. It's 7 minutes after 9. I got 2 guests in the studio. Enjoy a bit of music.
Has increased over 5 million in the last 8 years alone. We have created so far 2.3 million jobs, the most of any government in the Fourth Republic. But youth unemployment remains a major concern, and that confronts us. And we are committed to doing even more. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, it is better to continue with a party that has created more jobs than any other in the Fourth Republic than go back to a party and a leader who, after 4 years of doom so, created more unemployment than any government in the Fourth Republic. Ghana needs bold solutions to deal with the challenges we face. And that is what I am offering in asking for the mandate of the Ghanaians. This manifesto that we are launching lays out our comprehensive plan to take Ghana to the next level of growth, prosperity, under a selfless leader with bold solutions for jobs and businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, my vision, as I have stated, is to create a tent big enough to accommodate every Ghanaian, to tap into the resourcefulness and talents of our people, irrespective of our different ethnic, political, and religious backgrounds, to channel our energies into building the kind of country that assures food sufficiency.
The NDC's Legal Affairs Directorate, Nanaya Osapon, the personal aide of Alan Kojo Tremanti, leader of the Movement for Change. Helena Piampovo is still here with me. Also, I've had Dr. Zato, but he had an emergency, had to quickly attend to some academic duties at the University of Ghana, so he has had to leave. Eduji, welcome. Thank you for your time. Good morning.
Thank you. And thank you to our friend, Ellen. Ellen, did you suffer the haircut some?
Which sort of haircut are we talking about?
She has braids. She has braids.
No.
You are a Saudi.
Shaolin Temple. No. But let me elicit this particular.
Okay.
Have you
I'm
suffered?
not sure about this line of questioning. I'm listening with trepidation, but no haircuts on this side.
I see. Nanaya, how are you?
I'm you, my brother. But Johnny, I have an issue with you.
What issue, sir?
I invited you. Where you see you're going to be Kaime.
Oh, I sorted that. I will not know him into. I beg you.
You did what? But I sent the invitation.
Yes.
No, I sent the invitation.
But I spoke with Nano Inito. I was here.
Yes,
I interviewed him.
You might have spoken to my boss.
1 hour, 30 minutes.
You might have spoken to my boss.
Radio
I
time.
Agree with you.
Yes.
But I sent the invitation.
Apologies.
Any apologies?
Oh, Nanaya, don't be like that.
We are.
Don't be like that.
No, settle.
I'm still a voter.
You.
Yes.
Can you, in your consciousness, in your heart, go into the ballot box, look in the face of the ballot paper, seeing John Dramani Mahama, see Bawumia, see Alan John Kojo Tremanten, and vote for the duo in the app, the first and second, who have caused us terrible headaches for the past 32 years, and vote for any of them aside Alan Tremanten.
My vote is my secret.
Oh,
why can't I see
with
what
all the Johnny bites you have been doing, with the beautiful work you did this morning, in your heart, you can go the ballot box. Babe, I'm
Oh my God. You're on TV earlier today with your good friend Dr. Zato.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and yesterday you monitored the event as well.
Yeah. I mean, and
how was it for you?
Okay, so generally, at a point I got divided because I needed to. I thought the Chelsea match was of priority. So unfortunately,
you chose Chelsea over NPP.
Absolutely.
Really?
I have observed Bawumia on the campaign, and I knew what he had been selling to Ghanaians. And it was obvious that it is the thing that he had been selling that they were repackaged now into a document called Manifesto. I had no doubt at all in my mind that Bawumia is going into the 7th December election with credibility deficits. He's going into the election, right, as a discredited politician, as a dishonest politician, a politician without credit, a politician who should not be trusted. And so, if his words are now put into paper, does it, in and of itself, restore credibility to the already discredited Bawumia? Certainly not.
Did you hear the running mate, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, says he has never been accused of corruption. He's not corrupt. He has not been investigated for any act of corruption.
No, but you are the vice president now. You get investigated when you are no more.
So it will come?
On what
basis? What are you going to investigate?
See, the FTI consulting report after the PDS scandal tells us that in February 2018, there was a meeting at the Plaza House chaired by Dr. Bawumia. It was Dr. Bawumia chairing that meeting that changed the issue of bank guarantee, which was a condition precedent, into condition subsequent. That resulted in the PDS scandal. He was in that meeting. We will have an opportunity of speaking to him tomorrow. 2, if you recall, the Ameri-Novation Agreement. In the Ameri-Novation Agreement, Akufo-Addo had then traveled. When they had put the Novation Agreement together, they needed executive approval. Usually you have cabinet approval and executive.
Right.
When it's urgent and you cannot convey cabinet, you go for executive approval. Right. Akufo-Addo was not around. The person who gave that executive approval is Dr. Bawumia.
So you are serving notice that this will be placed on the front burner.
But they say he had never been.
Right.
Let's see how it goes.
But why don't you tell the OSP now?
Who?
Kisei Japin, Office of the Special Prosecutor.
You see, the OSP investigation is limited to corruption and corruption related. The mandate is a bit, circumscribed. And so where the matters involves bigger financial crimes, you want to look at it a bit more with all the nuances.
Then tell me Madam Tiwa.
Relax. She is an appointee of Mr. Akufo-Addo. Right? She's a direct appointee of Mr.
You don't think that she will do an independent work if you go to her with
It's not the issue of thinking. She's had the opportunity. I saw how she concluded the Cecilia Dapa matter, even though the Anti-Money Laundering Act, as amended in 2020, specifically provides that when you are investigating an issue of money laundering,
92.7,
and it involves property, tainted property, the burden is on the person to prove the source of that money.
Right.
Tiwa knows this, but she conveniently came across with that, bogus conclusion they reached. So obviously, I don't want to burden her. Let me put it that way. But
the NPP has said yesterday, some comments that came after that. Your alternative, which is the NDC, is scary. It's empty, and you have nothing to offer really. And that's yesterday you were feeling so uncomfortable. Maybe that's why you went to watch the Chelsea match.
No, so in 2020, they told us the alternative was scary. That was what they said.
Right.
Okay. Did you know, post 2020, that we're going to have haircuts never seen before. I'm asking you. In 2020, when the NPP said the alternative is scary, did you know that by retaining the NPP in power, Ghanaian bondholders, persons who have invested in government securities, were going to lose 61 billion Ghana cedis of their money in principal and interest payment? Did you know?
No.
No, I'm asking you, Johnny. You, in the year 2020, told the electorate that ignore John Mahama because he being the alternative is scary. Maintain Akufo-Addo. Now, Akufo-Addo comes and tells us that there shall be no haircuts. In one of my beautiful Rebecca speeches.
No, it's fellow Ghanaian speeches, not my beautiful Rebecca.
Very well. Where he made that statement, that there shall be no haircut. Less than a month after that speech, you know, people have not quantified the cost of the DDEP. You see, the thing with economics is that we do what we call opportunity costs. But for the DDEP, how much money would have come into your pocket by way of interest payment, by way of principal payment? And I'm telling you, by reason of the DDEP, persons who purchased government bonds lost 61 billion Ghana cedis. Do you know how much that is? 61 billion. And I want anybody to challenge me on the numbers. How much were the restructurable debts? And how much could have gone to people by way of interest payment, by way of principal? Because you are paying the principal and you are paying the interest. Look, in the words of the former Chief Justice, Sufa Akufo, she said that what happened, and they call it DDEP, never happened even during the military regime. You see, you people, you've not sat down to really evaluate the economic impact of that DDEP. What it means is that ordinary bondholders, ordinary Ghanaians, would have had 61 billion Ghana cedis to invest. You build your house, you use it to buy your diabetes drug, you use it to buy your BP drug, you use it to go for your holiday, or you do anything that you want to do with it. Akufo-Addo and Bawumia share wickedness. People lost that amount.
But they said the economy was going to crash if we didn't take that step.
What does it mean when you say the economy was going to? And I will explain the basic.
Simply what it means.
No, I will explain the economics of it. So you come to power in 2017. At that time, Ghana debt to GDP ratio was 56%. Now, the one who was managing the 56%, you said he was terrible at managing the economy. So Ghanaians said, fair enough. Then you came and introduced a man called Dr. Bawumia and said he's the poster boy on sound microeconomic management. The people say, hallelujah. Now we have the Messiah. Now we have Okonfo-Addo. With the benefit of Boduya, he can conjure the Sikeja Kufi. They say, oh, hallelujah. Hail him. Now, curiously, and I've always said this, you see, in the Bible, the very people that Christ offered food, miracles, when the Roman governor said, between Barabbas and Christ, who do you prefer? The people said what?
Barabbas.
Barabbas. The murderer. And then they said, okay, let's crucify Christ and free what? Barabbas. So in 2016, the people had a choice between Christ and Barabbas. And they say they prefer Barabbas. Hallelujah. No problem. Now look.
Quickly, so I can bring that.
Yeah, 2017, 4 months into power, Franklin Templeton, $2.25 billion.
Right.
But
that went to Shraj, and Shraj says...
Hold on. I'm coming.
Oh, I lie.
How? Relax. But the Shraj findings in respect of the potential conflict was there. And that is why they quickly applied to the High Court. And the High Court said, those portions, Ken Oforiatta was not asked to speak to it. So the order at the party room, and for that matter, the conclusion reached by Shraj were set aside. But Shraj made a finding that with his companies involved in the bond market, it exposes him to potential conflict. Now, guess what? 2018, $2 billion Eurobond. 2019, even when we went for the 3 billion Eurobond, we came back and did Kenke party. You remember, and the Wachi?
Yeah. Because Ken Oforiatta doesn't eat Kenke, so he ate Wachi.
Fantastic. So you recall that in the space of 5 years, they had done Eurobond alone, $11 billion in the space of 5 years. Never seen before. President Kufuor did Eurobond of 750. Mills, Emisata, John Mahama did 3.5 billion in 8 years. In the space of 6 years, less, or even 5 years, Akufo-Addo, Bawumia have done Eurobond alone, 11 billion. If you add the Franklin Templeton 2.25, it makes it 13 billion of bonds. How can you sustain your debt repayment? So if you recall, under H.E. John Dramani Mahama, because by 2010 we had inherited the single spine, if you pick the 3 line items of our budget, it was salaries and emolument, interest payment, and statutory payment. The topmost was salaries, followed by interest payment and amortization. Now, guess what? By the time Akufo-Addo took over, 2017 up to 2022, interest payment and amortization now became the ranked number 1 in terms of our line. At a point in a year, we're paying 55 billion Ghana cedis on interest payment and amortization.
Okay.
Now, guess what?
You have to pack it so Nana can get it. Let me fair to Nana.
No, so you come in. I just want to conclude on this. Now, when you have a situation where by 2023, our debt to GDP ratio had moved from 56% in 2016 to 104 by close of 2023. In fact, in 2022, we were going for further Eurobond, but for the fact that by February 2022, the international rating agencies have downgraded us into junk status. And therefore, the international Eurobond market was shut to us. We could no longer go. Even there, Bank of Ghana quickly started printing money to them. So how then do you, having mismanaged the economy to this level, now begin to blame exogenous factors?
Okay, I hear you. Now, step in for me. Now, yesterday, yesterday, of course,
this is not voodoo.
You read this at Lagos, so I'm sure you understand this better than I do. But yesterday, the president said he has no doubt that a Bawumia Napo ticket is what Ghana needs at this point. Number 2, Napo himself came to say that, well, my boss, the vice president and flag bearer, he's not corrupt. He's the man for the job. He knows it. Flag bearer himself says, look, I have the bold solutions. I'm a problem solver and a promise keeper. What do you say?
You know, you have a very beautiful way of asking your questions.
Simple.
And I admire that.
Thank you.
You know, Hey, I'm wondering where to start from.
Please start from the beginning.
Because if it is the same Alaji we are talking about, and you're talking about corruption.
Yeah.
And then you remember I sat here one time, the very first time you ever interviewed me, and I said that there is a need for us to redefine as a nation what corruption is.
Right.
So that we do not box ourselves thinking that when we are talking about corruption, it is just limited to stealing money and then just the old way of definition. Quite recently, I have heard many people, including CSOs and other contractors, who have had issues with contracts from Cocoa Board, which has been had the name of the brother of the vice president being involved.
Right.
And corruption would not only be limited to your persona, but even the people who are around you that you have direct control over. We've had the brother of the vice president, the brother of the wife of the vice president, who currently is the MP for Adenta,
nice.
Who is an NDC.
Ramadan.
And we are told that some of the items that were shared during the electioneering year were items from NADMO. I don't know if you heard.
Yes, I heard that. You know, NADMO also has Dr. Bawumia's wife's brother there.
And so you come to tell me that you have clean hands when it comes to the issue of corruption. Are we able to do a lifestyle audit of his family and tell whether or not he's as clean as he says and claims he is? Let us redefine what corruption is. Okay. In moving forward, you have the GTP,
the Great Transformational Plan of your party.
Not my party, of my presidential candidate.
Right.
He's an independent presidential candidate.
Okay.
And when we had invited the media, broadcast journalists and print media and, you know, for the engagement, after we had presented to Ghanaians policy prescriptions, realistic, unambiguous policy prescriptions. And I know you've had the opportunity to read.
Yes, I have. If I went through it now into last Thursday.
In your view, do you think there is any form of ambiguity in any of the policy prescriptions we have offered?
Make your point. Go ahead.
See a dinko.
No, but I didn't come. Maybe be sour. No, I we man. So,
in providing Ghanaians economic stability, growth, resilience, and prosperity, we have stated that this will lead to a brighter future for all, and this everybody knows.
But Dr. Bawumia and these people don't even talk about Lalan Chairman thing.
But we're not talking about him.
They don't even want to mention you. In fact, yesterday they didn't mention John Mahama for once.
And it is dangerous.
Even though they referred to him, they didn't mention.
It is dangerous.
How so?
Not to recognize the impact of your opponent in a race. It shows the complacence in which you find yourself. And that is a mark of having to know that you are being defeated.
Really?
If you take a look at their manifesto, the last paragraph.
These are just highlights, so.
The highlights,
the last paragraph.
The last paragraph of where his signature is, the vision statement.
Okay.
before there is a line before the signature, but the paragraph before the line. Kindly read it for me.
I'm trying to look for the document so we can share it with our
page,
public.
Page 28.
Helen, do you have a grasp on that? Do you?
I'll have a look.
Okay. If you don't have, let me just go for it quickly.
I would just want to read it because I wanted it to come from you. Okay. So that they will know that I am not.
Am I talking about to lead is to solve?
I invite you to before the signature of the presidential candidate.
Okay. I can't seem to find that one.
Oh, that is
what I have here is.
That is page I.
Oh, the very last page. No, the first
before Napu's picture.
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry, the listeners. Let me try and find it. Okay.
You've seen it?
Yes. I invite you to vote for me as your president and for the NPP candidates as your members of parliament. So together we can deliver on this bright future for all. It is possible.
I want to maintain the bright future for all.
Yes. It is possible.
This bright future for all. Mm-hmm. And it is on that note I would want to emphasize.
That what?
That you cannot have a manifesto whereby you go to cut and paste from your opponent's strategic plan.
Are you saying they plagiarize your manifesto?
Oh, I'm going to take it. Let's go through one after the other.
Okay.
And that line everybody knows and is attributed to Alan Tremanten.
Okay. At least you brought your manifesto out first.
Of course.
Okay. So show me, demonstrate.
And I have stated that if they are taking Ghanaians seriously for once, both the NPP and the NDC, and for now I would be on the NPP because they're in power, they should have been able to present to Ghanaians a manifesto months before for us to peruse, to be able to critique and ask questions.
Okay.
Not to bring us a document 2 months to elections and tell us these are just highlights.
Okay. Let's demonstrate to me how your manifesto has been plagiarized.
When we talk about the infrastructure, how to deal with the infrastructural deficit, Alan Tremanten before now and in the Great Transformational Plan had proposed that for Ghana to be able to deal with the infrastructural deficit we have, Ghana would have to involve the private sector into a PPP and to build, operate and transfers and many others that we should be able to present to the investor world very attractive incentives that would make them bring their money. Because government does not have what it takes to involve itself in these very huge and massive infrastructural development.
Before you get in there, I want you to, you pointed out a line. I want you to make reference to it in your document so my listeners know that, in fact, this was lifted from your document and put in
the PPP?
Yes, no. The
Brighter Future for All?
Yes.
Oh, I can even send you, the way they're crying, looking for it would even be too much. I would just show you, I have a picture of it.
And that's captured on page what of your document?
I have to go through. Just look at it. Just hold on to it and read the line down there.
Okay, a brighter future for all. That's at the media engagement.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, it's just like you having what the
so this is your branding, and it's like the 24-hour economy or
yes, and
133.
It's there. I just didn't know you would want me to read it because I didn't.
Okay, that's fine.
But you've
that's
seen
fine.
it.
But I've seen it in terms of the branding.
I would want to go to the infrastructure.
Okay.
Where I was talking about the PPP, and then you would know that we're talking about having the private sector being involved in our infrastructure development. Okay. And that is in page 54. Provide fiscal and non-fiscal incentives to the private sector to invest in the provision of transport infrastructure and the variety of ownership and management arrangements, including but not limited to private sector concessions. This is just on the transport. Because I would want us to move. I didn't want to. I just wanted to quote that line for you to understand that we had called on the private sector to become a pillar in dealing with the infrastructural deficit.
Right, and you say this idea was taken away from you?
Oh, now me can you want it? That's how they McCain. Johnny Hughes. I've just read it.
You're saying that the manifesto
if you come under public housing,
you're saying the manifesto that was read to us is actually a manifesto that is lifted from portions and parts.
If you read under the public housing of the Great Transformational Plan 56, establish a mortgage financing institution under the public-private partnership arrangement to promote public housing, in particular affordable and low-income housing. That is a point 3.
Okay.
Wait, this is here.
And you say they stole this from you?
But, Johnny, I've just read this.
Okay.
Did we not publish this Great Transformational Plan before that of the NPP?
Maybe you were thinking alike because you belong to the same tradition until
this document had come
until the split happened.
If they ever had the idea of doing this, they wouldn't have abolished or suspended, for lack of a better word, suspended the toll they take on our roads and replace it with e-levy.
But e-levy was going to create 11 million jobs.
Is the private sector a charity home? If a private man comes to invest in our road infrastructure, how are we going to repay him?
Okay, so this is what the NPP's manifesto highlight says about public infrastructure. It says, 1, partner the private sector to finance, build and rent or lease to own to government public infrastructure, including school, housing, water and roads, as well as equipment. Revive and resource, including with modern equipment and state-owned arts of the workshops, the Public Works Department to be the primary government agency responsible for maintaining of public infrastructure across the country. So, and you say this was lifted verbatim from you?
Let me read this to you. The primary reason for this deficit, and I'm reading from the infrastructure cluster of our Great Transformational Plan, page 52. The primary reason for this deficit has been the lack of financial, technical, and other resources in the delivery of our infrastructure facilities and services. The business model adopted over the years, which is predicated on government being the principal funding source for the development of infrastructure, has clearly failed to deliver tangible results. For this experience in the advanced economics in addressing the challenges associated with infrastructural development as outlined above, has been the promotion of private ownership and or public-private partnership in the planning, execution, and management of public infrastructure projects.
Okay, I hear you. Let's take a quick break. We'll have to quickly take a break.
You asked a question. Have I answered you?
Yes, you have answered one part of the question.
Which is?
The first part that, well, they lifted from, according to you.
Which other part have I not answered?
Well, the infrastructure thing, you just read it as well, right?
And so have I answered your question?
Yes, you have.
So now do you clearly agree with me that they do not have new ideas on their own to be able to manage the economy?
I wanted to introduce something, but I don't know.
Let's quickly take the break.
But you see, before we go for the break, I beg, I know you have to make money. Kindly go online.
And look for what?
No, online now.
And look for what?
Your machine.
And look for what?
And type. Tax Amnesty Act 2017. Tax Amnesty Act
2017.
Act 955.
Okay. What is there? What is there?
You see, Bawumia says
an act to grant amnesty to persons who have failed to register with the Commissioner General of File Tax Returns or pay taxes are required by the enactment. And
Bawumia says he's coming with bold solutions. Emphasis, bold. This piece of legislation, when was it passed?
2017. 29th of December 2017. Date of assent, actually. So it means that it was passed prior to that date.
Absolutely.
It was assented to
as we speak,
by the previous government.
As as we speak, the law exists. Tax amnesty law. 2, Parliament again passed what is known as waivers, Penalties and Interest Waivers Act, Act 1056, 2021.
So bottom line is that?
The thing Bawumia is promising in the campaign, I think that this government has already been implementing and has not yielded the desired results.
Well, but if he has not yielded, that's why he's bringing it up.
No. So how can this thing be bold solution?
Well, maybe his boss was not bold enough to have implemented them, so now he wants to be bold to do.
I think of all the sins of Bawumia, I don't think you want to add a betrayal to it.
But for the records, but for the records,
is a betrayal from me or from?
But for the records,
him.
For the records,
I don't want you to
the president.
Put it in that
the president.
No, but hold on, Anaya. I make the
see.
The man is speaking. The man speaks.
Hold on.
His boss speaks and says that under Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. Then when he speaks, he says, "My boss."
No, listen carefully. If you recall, on the campaign platform, and I'll speak to you, Akufo-Addo said, "Look, Ghana cedi no, aye hata,
right?
And into no, me de sa branch ye edeba, no abeboa ma Ghana cedi no, afa nintima pa aye den, Efra." Who was he referring to?
Dr.
Bawumia.
Right.
That was his poster boy on sound economic management. In fact, the Ayawaso by-election, the NPP had a last rally at Bawumia. Bawumia was there, Akufo-Addo was there. Akufo-Addo said, "I have governed with the mind of Dr. Bawumia and in a vision."
In fact, he repeated that to the children, the school children who visited.
Perfect. Now, after 7 years, 8 months of using this mind, the vision, you now come and say, "I was just a driver's mate."
But he has moved away from that.
Dishonesty.
Can a man not change his mind?
No, this is not a change of mind.
Now you see,
this thing goes your credibility.
The question coming from
you see, in Islam, Prophet Muhammad,
peace be unto his name,
his most trusted lieutenant was Abu Bakr. So when Prophet Muhammad died, it was Abu Bakr who effectively took over the work.
Right.
Never for a minute did Abu Bakr, stand anywhere to say what the Prophet did was wrong.
But politics is not religion,
no,
is it?
It's about leadership. It's about leading. It's about trustworthiness. It's about credibility.
And you say Dr. Bawumia doesn't have it?
No. Because you see, what credible people do is that you take over. It's a mixed bag, good, bad. You take the responsibility and say, "Look, we could have done better."
But he explained yesterday that times are hard. Nana, you heard him, right?
You didn't
that
hear.
Times are hard.
But
you heard it. No, wait, let Nana answer. Nana, you heard him.
Now who caused Sam? That's the most important question in
You want him to answer that?
Yes. It is not enough. My lady here can say times are hard. But he knows she's not the cause of the times that are hard.
Well, maybe.
Now the person,
maybe she's spending more than she earns.
Listen, did you listen to?
Madam.
No, did you listen to the finance minister?
Yes.
When he sought to
apologize.
The insincere apology.
Oh, come on, please.
You saw what he did. He ended up blaming the IMF for forcing us to do a DDEP. He never, for a minute, said that the unbridled borrowing is what resulted in the DDEP.
Okay.
Because he knew by so doing, your next question as a journalist will be, who borrowed?
This is where I take a break.
Where you are. How come that you've not been able to call Bawumia out for a debate? Journalist, Kuzuma.
We should call him out for a debate.
Yes, you the journalist.
What are we going to debate about?
No, at least you to Tona, no.
But the last time he asked for a debate, he said somebody should go to the market to go and...
No, he said Sangba. You know Sangba?
No Sangba.
The luckiest.
Star 712 hash.
Luck is everywhere. For everyone, yeah.
Here's
To the friends who dialed *712# and found no regrets. To the investors who struck gold. To the health workers who diagnosed luck with precision. To the tough guy who couldn't hold back his tears. To the passionate fan who couldn't contain his joy. To the seamstress who turned her hard-earned stitches into a bundle of happiness. And now, here's to you. Your next big win is right here.
Dial *712#. Now join in the luckiest winning celebration. Every 1st July 2024. Over dial *712#. Now I can to tickets as a group, individual, and now even as a community. Now win Nisika Kessie. Prizes are Kessie in the community draw or go for the grand draw on the 30th of November 2024. Unlock your luck with *712#. Now join in the winning streak now.
The luckiest *712#. Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. The luckiest.
Come on. Good boy. Honey, look, he's crawling. Wow. Good job. The new Cerelac Wheat and Maize has the combined goodness of wheat and maize grains fortified with iron, vitamins, and minerals also found in fruits and vegetables. To prepare the new Cerelac Wheat and Maize, just add milk. Enjoy your little one's big moments at less cost. Cerelac, care for them, count on us. This advert is FDA approved.
People of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. It is very critical that we do that. An airport makes a lot of sense in Cape Coast. It's a real tourist hub, and between Greater Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast, you have a triangle that really is a lot of hub of economic activity. You can build railway lines between them, and it's a major growth pole if we put an airport here to people of Cape Coast. I have good news for you. We are building a new harbor in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast. It is very critical that we do that. An airport makes a lot of sense in Cape Coast. It's a real tourist hub, and between Greater Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast, you have a triangle that really is a lot of hub of economic activity. You can build railway lines between them, and it's a major growth pole if we put an airport here to drive infrastructure growth.
That was Dr. Bawumia 2 years ago. It's 53 minutes after 9. We're wrapping up in a bit, but yesterday, if you look at the expand public infrastructure bit of the manifesto highlights, it talks about the fact that commence the development of the Cape Coast Airport, for which funding has been secured under the Korean $2 billion facility. Nana, finally, Cape Coasters will get their airport. Hooray!
Is it different from the one that was built already?
Oh, no airport has been built in Cape Coast.
Oh, but the last manifesto, they said that they
said I have good news for you, but this one is new one, that they will commence the development of the Cape Coast Airport, for which funding has been secured under the Korean $2 billion facility. So now funding has
sometimes when somebody have said good morning to you, I said it today on your sister station,
right?
And I said that sometimes when somebody has said good morning to you, first of all, you have to look up to see whether or not it is the moon or it is the sun that is out.
You want to be sure.
And then when you are looking up, be very careful, because you could lose the ground on which you are standing to Galamsey.
This is serious.
You understand?
I don't understand.
So you should be very careful when you are listening to some people.
92.7.
Now you should be careful, because their yesterday could be different from their today. Their yesterday could be that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate would expose you. And their today could be that it still remains the same.
Right.
But it is whoop logic. And once somebody comes with such a statement, then you would want to rationalize and put to logic what the person said the day before. It is a lot of English that was said and a lot of English that has been written.
There's a triangle.
But as to whether or not we would trust those words is another thing.
Eduji,
this election has to do with trust.
Okay.
It has to do with people being held accountable and as to whether they will be accountable and they are accountable. This election is about leadership and the person's integrity. The manifesto Alhaji launched yesterday, in my view, it does not address the issues being suffered by the Ghanaian businesses out there.
He said they went out there, they found out that there was roads, cost of living, and then infrastructure.
So beautiful. I would come to cost of living. When you read their manifesto, you have it?
Yes, I do.
I want you to read the cost of living.
We don't have too much time now.
No, just 30 seconds. Wait, they're saying you're not gonna say. They are talking about increasing food security.
Right.
Through financing by a new bank, Ghana Development Bank or something.
Right.
Like that. What happens to Agriculture Development Bank? Have they lost focus now as a bank? Or they still have the intent to sell the bank?
3FM 92.7.
Now, when you have said you would want to increase food security, it means you should have practical solutions to dealing with that matter. We have stated in the GTP, all right, under food security, that we would encourage individuals to own farms as businesses.
Okay.
1. 2, we would encourage the youth by providing funding for them to put themselves together to go into agriculture. 3, we are going to push faith-based organizations that have the resources to be able to own farms and plantations, of which in all, we are going to put in measures to bring about agro-parks.
Okay.
These are practical measures.
You have a plan for it.
We have a plan.
You didn't hear a plan for it.
I know I can't bro for one chirichim. No, let's be real.
Okay.
Did you, in any of the number of minutes you sat down listening to
it was 4 hours, so I beg you. 7 hours.
The manifesto of the NPP, did you find them touch on anything that has to do with the exchange rate?
No.
3FM
Are we not told
92.7
that the person leading the NPP is an economist?
It's the economic messiah.
And are we not told that his area of expertise is in banking?
Yes.
And for that matter, he has a solution to dealing with the stability of our currency and our forex. Where amongst the three would you put your strength if you have all of this?
92.7.
My boss Alan Chamantin has major strength in industry and business development.
Right.
And if you would take a critical look at the Great Transformational Plan, you would notice that this is based on industry, job creation, and sustainability.
Okay.
That is his area.
I hear you.
And if we take the manifesto of the NPP today, what is it based on?
Okay. Well, I'm sure they have an answer. Eduji, Cape Coasters are going to get their airport finally. That should be good news.
Credibility. How come that is every election year that he does this is tricks?
What tricks? Funding has been secured.
No, by Korean loan. Which parliament has approved Korean loan? Which parliament has approved Korean loan? You borrow 13 billion from the Eurobond market. When you see airports, it's today that you are going to tell the Cape Coasters. Because I have always maintained, and let me repeat, the whole Bawumia candidature, I've always said, is going to be a test of our national sanity.
How?
I'm telling you, the whole Bawumia candidature is going to be a test of our national sanity.
How? Explain.
Because you see, you in 2020, you tell Okada riders that you swap Okada with cars.
Right.
4 years down the line, oh yeah. In fact, when he gave the promise that they were going to, they are building airports in Cape Coast and a port.
Right.
Nanado went into the studios of Peace FM and never even remembered that he made such a promise.
Well, he came back to apologize later.
No,
After he was confronted.
But the whole idea that he even forgot about the promise. And you want to put the destiny of this country in the hands of these people again? Never.
You see, it will be a test of our national sanity. So what does it mean? If you go and vote for the NPP again, means that you are not all right?
I mean, like there's a fundamental problem.
Eduji, are you not overstretching this?
No. 8 years to resolve the living conditions of Ghanaians. Johnny, as we speak today, ask any importer who wants to get dollars to buy or pay duties. They are doing almost 16 cedis. In fact, there is a popular guy on Facebook, Selon.
All right.
He posted that he did an online payment. He did almost 17 Ghana cedis for the dollar. The people who have taken, listen carefully, the people who have taken this economy from 4 cedis to almost 17 cedis are still telling you that don't look at only hardship to vote.
Okay.
So we should look at the way Bawumia laugh, or we should look at how Napo dance. Please, let's be serious.
Godwin Edudisa Maklo is the head of the NDC's legal affairs department, and also Nanaya Osapon is special aide to Alan Kodjo Tremanting. And that's it for our show for this morning. Thanks to Helen Apian Pofo, to 62 Olo, to Seth Agbeiza, to Bob Franklin, to Juan Mamea, to Amaka, to all the team. Thank you very much indeed. We have to quickly do a birthday wish, and then 62 will bring you the news.